We have Maurice Gaskin with us, and he is going to be educating us all about mosquitoes and what we need to do, especially now that we're seeing the rain. A lot of rain is happening, and I know start to feel mosquitoes. So let's go over to welcome Mr. Gaskin. Welcome. Good night.
Good evening, Marcia.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Good evening to everyone locked on to the Marcia Week show. Um, since I was doing the show, I have been met with a lot of persons who were in tune with the show, and they have been asking some questions. And you're correct, we're getting some rain, lots of rain. Even today, we had a lot of rain. And once we're getting a lot of rain, obviously, you're going to get a lot of mosquito breeding.
Yes.
So what I want to begin by saying, there's a plant called the bromeliad plant. Bromeliad, Bromeliad. And this is a nice purple yellowish plant that has like a cup that collects a lot of rainwater.
Wow.
And these plants are known to breed a considerable amount of mosquitoes because they retain water. So we have been going around asking persons to remove these plants from around the premises. I remember when I was in Warrens, I had asked one of the business places there in Warrens to remove them. And within 2 days, the company had all them removed because if you pull up 4 or 5 of these, 5 or 6 of these plants, and you empty the water from these plants, you can actually have full of a bucket with water. And if you don't want to remove the plant, the bromeliad plant, then you need to treat it with a little salt, not too much, or even some bleach, or even some mosquito dunks. If you want to or the aquatine, if you want to retain these plants. But if you don't want to treat them with the aquatine or the dunks or some bleach or a little salt, then you need to remove these plants. It's called the bromeliad plant, and we're having a lot of issues with this plant. Second thing I want to speak about, persons have been asking me, how is it possible to die from dengue? We have had about 60 deaths from dengue in the last 20 to 25 years. And how you die, let me use myself as an example. Mosquitoes, dengue comes in what you call 4 serotypes. 4, S-E-R-O, serotypes. So you get serotype 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let me show you how.
Mr. Gaskin, is this a plant that you were referring to called the
I cannot see it too well. It is a plant that has like a cup. This don't resemble it. No, this don't resemble it. From what I'm seeing, no.
Okay, how do you spell that? Do you know the spelling of it? We want to at least show the people the picture of it.
Bron.
Yes.
EL.
Yes.
IAD. I think that's the spelling. BRON. Bromel. EL. IAD. Bromeliad. And they allow it. Well, this is one of the species of it, but
it's a different species, right?
Right.
Okay.
There are a lot of species of it, but this is not the main species that I usually find. But this is one of them.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, let's continue, please.
Pardon?
You can continue, please.
Right. So say that, of course, around this time with all the rain falling and so on, you get dengue. This is one also. This one that we're seeing is one of the species of the plant. But with all the rain falling now, and you have persons with dengue, what happens is that someone with dengue fever, the mosquito, the female mosquito, not the male, go and bite that person. It takes the blood from that person along with the dengue fever virus from that person. And if that mosquito now come and bite me, it actually transfer the virus and the person blood to me.
Mm.
So within the blood, the virus then works through my body. And after about 5 to 8 days, then I start feeling sick. So this first sickness that I'm feeling is as a result of one of the serotypes. So it could be serotype 1, it could be 2, 3, or 4. And that first virus, we refer to that as classical dengue fever virus. Classical dengue fever virus. So say I had dengue type 2. I would have some symptoms like headache, fever, joint pains, nausea, retroorbital pain in the eyes when I move my eyes, they hurt, conjunctivitis, cold in my eyes, and so on. So my body then builds up immunity to that dengue type 2 against any of the other 3 viruses, the type 1, 3, and 4. I will not be able to contract any of those viruses within a 6-month period. So the virus then lasts in my body for at least a year to 18 months. And if within that year to 18 months, I'm bitten again by a mosquito carrying the virus, and I have another strain, another serotype, say serotype 4, it means that within that 18-month period, I would have dengue type 2 and dengue type 4. So what happens then, saying that my body would have been under stress and being compromised from the first dengue fever, chances are, if I'm not using my vitamins, not eating well, and I'm practicing a good healthy lifestyle, chances are I will move from classical dengue fever to dengue hemorrhagic fever. And of course, you know, hemorrhagic means to bleed. So what happens is that the virus then starts to rupture the cells in my body, the internal cells of my body. And then I could come down with dengue hemorrhagic fever. So then I tend to bleed inside. And the blood, of course, bleeding inside need to come out of your body. So if I lay down tonight, when I wake up tomorrow, then I may see blood on my pillow from my ears. My nose may start to bleed. I may get blood in my stool, blood in my urine, and even my hands and so on may start to bleed. And of course, you know, when you're losing blood like that, you're going to shock. You're going to shock. And what actually kills you then is dengue shock syndrome, which is the dengue, classical dengue, along with hemorrhagic dengue, along with all the different fever, headache, joint pains, and so on. And chances are then I will die from dengue, DSS, dengue shock syndrome. So it's important for persons that, especially if you had the first dengue, any of these serotypes, not to catch dengue again. And that is my advice. My other advice is that with the rainy season, the dengue fever mosquito like to breed in good, clean, crystal clear water. And the larvae lie at a 90-degree angle. When we see the larvae in water, it lies at a 90-degree angle. And this mosquito bites you between 6 or 7 in the morning and around 6 in the evening. And of course, most of us between that period, we are mostly at work or at school. So you can leave home in a safe environment, travel to work or school, and pick up the dengue virus there. And what happens is that when you are feeling sick and you visit the doctor or the polyclinic, there's a form that the doctor used called health notifiable inspection in notifiable form that caters to at least 30 different diseases: food poisoning, dengue, leptospirosis, measles, and so on, chikungunya, Zika, yellow fever, and so on. And when the doctor question you, probably take a blood test, he usually take the suspected case of the condition you have. So if you have dengue, he ticks the box with dengue fever. And as I said, it's a notifiable disease form. And that form, I live in Black Rock, so if he diagnosed I had dengue, that form goes to the Brantford Tate Polyclinic, which is in my jurisdiction, in my catchment. And then I will receive a telephone call from the inspectorate at Brantford Tate telling me they want to come and interview me. So we will set up a time. They may tell me they want to come tomorrow 11 o'clock, and I would make myself available for them to come tomorrow at 11. When the inspector gets by my house and sits down with me, there's a dengue inspection form, and that inspector will question me and ask me if I had headache. If I say yes, he tick headache, fever, joint pains, and he tick all the boxes of the different signs and symptoms that I would have told that person about. After conducting the interview, the inspector then inspects my premises to see if I'm breeding the mosquitoes at my house. And I must tell you, when I was working, 95% of the time that we would have interviewed persons who had dengue, the mosquitoes were breeding right at their premises. And that is a serious thing. What happens then is, on that form, the inspector also questions me of where do I work or what school I attend or college. And the reason for that is that I live in Black Rock, but if I'm working in Oistins, the inspector then cannot go up to Oistins to inspect premises up there. So what the inspector does, if I say, well, I work Beer Garden in Oistins, the inspector at Brantford then contacts the Randall Phillips Polyclinic to get a sense of understanding of within the last 3 months, what was the mosquito situation around Oistins and environs, to see if I would have picked up the dengue up in Oistins while I was at work, or whether or not I would have picked it up in Black Rock. Another thing the inspector does is that when he finished interviewing me and inspecting my premises, he must do at least 30 inspections at premises around where I live. And most of the time, at least 3 or 4 of these houses are breeding mosquitoes. And the purpose for that is that by I have the dengue, he wants to stop that transmission, that infestation of mosquitoes. He wants to limit those amount of mosquitoes out there that will most likely come and bite me to take my blood and virus to someone else. And that is the procedure of dealing with the whole investigation of dengue fever and how you die, how you spread the virus from one person to the other. We have persons who meet me and tell me, man, yes, man, I ain't seeing the fogging truck in my area. I must tell listeners and those watching the program right now, when you see the fogging truck, you should be concerned. When you don't see the fogging truck, you should be happy. Because when you're seeing the fogging truck, it means that mosquitoes is in high, there's a high infestation of mosquitoes in your area. Because how we fog is that we collect data. So we fog due to persons complaining about mosquito breeding. We fog due to the amount of mosquitoes we find in the district. And we also fog due to the amount of dengue cases we find within the community. So if you're not, and that is done through something called GPS,
Yeah.
Geographic Positioning System, and GIS, Geographic Information System. So whereas years ago we used to fog from Christchurch to St. Lucie and back, we don't do that anymore. We collect data, put it into a computer, and then the computer sends out information telling us where where we should fog. And while I'm at it, I don't want to alarm anyone, but I would just want you to permit me to mention some of the areas that we're mostly concerned about in Barbados for mosquito breeding. So where I'm sitting is in Deacons. This is one. Freehill, Fairfield, in town, in the Orleans, places like West Terrace in St. James, Trent in St. James, Belle Plaine, St. Andrew, Ellerton, St. George, Dalles Road, Rockley, Dayton, Sergeant's Village, um, um, the place up there, Parish Land in St. Philip, up there by the prison, the Crane, the Glebe, Walkers, Fortescue, St. Philip. Those are the areas that Market Hill in St. George, Edgecliff in St. John, Gall Hill. Those are the places that we have seen a lot of mosquito breeding.
Yeah.
So
But can I ask you a quick question?
sure.
How do you go about or the question should be then, is it because those areas are prone to flooding or water settling? They have ponds. Why those particular areas?
Very, very good question. I'm glad that you asked that. You remember I would have mentioned Belle Plaine.
Yes.
So, for instance, Belle Plaine, as you know, there's certain parts of Barbados where the water system is not reliable. So, of course, Belle Plaine, St. Andrew is the area where persons raise a lot of cattle, sheep, a lot of animals. So what they do is they hold water, they catch water, so that if the system is not reliable, they need water to wet plants, they need water to feed animals. And when they collect this water is not stored adequately. So that is how you get mosquito breeding. A place like West Terrace in St. James and a place like Friendship in St. Michael behind the polyclinic, persons keep a lot of plants. So if you go at these premises, you see a lot of plants, and of course, you as I mentioned, persons who have a wetting plants, persons having the plants on the outside, and the rainwater. Because the rainwater, why we get so much mosquito breeding during June to November. Remember, the rainwater do not carry chlorine.
Right.
The rainwater is pure. So the mosquitoes tend to breed a bit faster. They will also breed, they will also breed in your water that you catch from the tap. But that water has in chlorine. So it takes a little longer. But because of the rainwater being what you call sterile, free from the chlorine, that is
Yes.
why you get right. And also answer your question, we get like drains and blockage of drains, persons illegally dumping and pet bottles blocking up drains, blocking the silt traps going to the leading to the well, and you get a lot of mosquito breeding. And what persons don't know is that at the polyclinic, there's a truck and there's a driver supervisor. And what we sometimes do, along with the general workers, is get the driver to go around with the truck after heavy rainfall and treat a lot of these drains and wells with oil. And that is something that we do periodically to stop the
The
mosquito breeding.
breeding.
Right.
And Clark is saying that she hasn't, and a couple others, I think one or two others, they haven't seen an inspector. I haven't seen an inspector come to my house. They said the inspector used to come, but in about 5 years, they haven't seen an inspector. I have not seen an inspector in years.
Okay. The plant that I'm seeing here, this is a classic example of the bromeliad plant. This is the one that tends to give the most trouble. This
Wow,
particular one.
I have one right outside my door.
Yes, this particular one, as I said, you could put some dunks. You could put some little, not much salt, because the salt will dry and kill it. Not much salt. You put a little bleach, but you could put some Aquitaine or some dumps. To address the question about the inspectorate, Barbados is divided into 61 public health districts. When I leave the job, there were about 130 inspectors, and there are approximately 148,000 premises. But with the 130 inspectors, only about 50 do what we call house-to-house inspections. So, of course, you and I know when you look at 148,000 premises to 50 or 60 inspectors, you will not be able to see an inspector as you would have liked. And you and the listeners may be asking me then, if there are 50 inspectors, what is happening with the other 80? So with the other 80, you have admin staff. You have some of them seconded to Barbados Community College to teach the course. You have 14 inspectors, about 21 inspectors between the Grantley Islands Airport, the Bridgetown Port, and Port St. Charles. We have, as I speak to you, at 6 o'clock this evening, an inspector went on to Haipat to work. That inspector went on there at 6 this evening. I'm going to spend the entire night there till 6 tomorrow morning. And then at 6 tomorrow morning, someone will relieve that inspector and work till 6 in the evening. And the reason for that is that Haipat makes ham, sausages, nuggets, and the inspector need to be there to look at quality control and make sure that the right sodium nitrite brine is going into the hot dogs and all of that sort of thing. So what I'm asking, would you want someone to leave a plant where they're monitoring something for you to eat to come to your house to tell you to clean your place? Or will you want that inspector to go and monitor food for consumption? We have food coming in the port on ships. The inspector have to monitor that food and make sure that food is not bitten by rats. Remember, I talk about the ship rat that go on the ships, the rattus rat. He have to make sure that food is wholesome. You have to make sure when the plane is coming in and people coughing, and you have to quarantine persons coming off the flight. You have to deal with the airport, deal with the flight kitchen, deal with the food. Then we have an inspector station at Southern Meats. And that inspector will go on there tomorrow morning at 6 and leave at 2. And all the pigs and cows and sheep that are slaughtered, he have to inspect the liver, the spleen, the kidney, the heart, and make sure that meat, when it leave Southern Meats and it go to Hanshelinist down in Fontebelle, where the inspector is working to be made into port, that is wholesome. Then we have two inspectors at Chickmont that have to inspect over 20,000 birds being slaughtered per day to make sure that you when you eat your chicken that you eat wholesome chicken.
So,
So what I'm saying, and then of course, as I mentioned a time, I was at the vector control unit and I sent over 500 dead bodies overseas. We have to go and inspect the date leaving Barbados to go overseas. We have to make sure the body's in BAM because it's going on an aircraft.
oh,
And
wow.
there's certain procedures. The body must be in a metal coffin, and then it moved from a metal coffin to a casket or a plywood box. We have to go and hold the person and touch the body and make sure it's wholesome and only the body is in there. So if the body leave and go to Jamaica, Guyana, and then they don't see the inspector's signature, then that body will be sent back to Barbados. So all of these things so what I'm saying to you, far from concentrating on the host to host with 130 staff, we are putting our priorities into things that will more affect you. And so no one should be coming to your house to tell to clean your place. So what happens in these big countries is that inspectors don't go out and do house to house. You do what you call complaints. So I can understand if you're having a problem and you call, we need to come out and investigate your complaint within 48 hours. But we shouldn't be coming around wasting resources telling you to clean your place when I said last time you should spend at least 10 minutes twice a week inspecting around your place.
But tell you what, Mr. Gaston, would you believe that I gave you back the 10 minutes and we are 2 minutes away. So you have 2 minutes left. So what is it that you want to tell us in the 2 minutes?
In my 2 minutes, I am saying that there's crop over on right now. You're going to be looking at selling food or attending all the crop over events. Even myself will be going to some of them. And so on. You have visitors coming in, friends coming in. Spend, especially now we're heavy rainfall, spend at least 10 minutes twice a week inspecting around your premises,
Yes.
keeping things that could collect water turned down. When you're washing your wares, dry them before you put them in your wear rack. Shake your toothbrush before you put it in your toothbrush holder. Check the pipe under the sink to make sure that that trap is not leaking and you put in a bucket to collect the water. If you're putting a bucket to collect the water because it's defective, put some dumps in it, put some bleach, put some aquatine, put some oil. If you're having tires, don't keep them exposed in the outside. Put them under a shade, put some soil in them or cut some holes in them every 5 inches around them. Inspect your premises. Make sure you're not harboring mosquitoes and
Yes.
collecting water. That is my message to all Barbadians.
Thank you so very much. And I was here, getting some notes down, and I've started to follow. Every week I follow what I hear on. I'm going to go check my bromeliad plant
The
and
Milliard plant.
yes, and do some stuff with that because it's
Right.
right up my door right here. Thank you
Right.
so much, Mr. Gaskin.
It
God
was
bless
my it was
you.
my pleasure.
Yes, God bless. Thank you so much.
Okay.